Pandaren have been one of my favorite races in the Warcraft universe ever since Warcraft 3. I always liked the Pandaren, and Chen Stormstout was one of my favorite characters as a kid, even before he was in World of Warcraft. I remember during Vanilla WoW and Burning Crusade, people would always post on the forums requesting that Pandaren would be playable someday, and it was only until Mists of Pandaria where I finally achieved my dream of playing a Pandaren. Lately, though, it feels like Pandaren have been kind of swept to the side. If you played a monk, you did get some lore in Legion, but overall, Pandaren have just been lacking unless you really, know me as a character. Memes aside, though, I'm guessing it's due to some of the backlash that Pandaren received during Mists of Pandaria. Blizzard probably doesn't see them as a marketable race anymore, and that's a shame because Pandaren really have a fleshed out storyline, especially for Mists of Pandaria. And if you just want an example of that, right now on the live server, G Firepaw was missing in the feast during the Horde cutscene in the Legion epilogue, which I found to be kind of disheartening, especially because I play Pandaren exclusively on Horde. I would have liked to have our leader, have some representation there. Another example of that too is if you go to the Horde embassy and you talk to G Firepaw, he's literally just meditating, and if you talk to him, he has nothing to say, and it's like, I get that some people say that his storyline might have been finished in Mists of Pandaria, but I feel like they just don't have a lot of representation in the current faction, and Battle for Azeroth would be a great time to give them some development. Upon further investigation, I did notice Aysa Cloudsinger had some dialogue in the Alliance Embassy. I would have liked to see something from G Firepaw similar to this, instead of him just meditating and having nothing to say on the situation. At least Aysa made reference to Varian like the other leaders in the Alliance did. When word about the Azerite gets out, I'd love to hear G Firepaw's thoughts on this. I don't think he'd be for it, to tell you guys the truth. I think he'd be against it, but it'd be really interesting to see him clash with a few leaders. Even if it's just a brief bit of dialogue, I think it would be really awesome. I made a post on Reddit about this, but here's how I kind of see my current Pandaren player in terms of the lore. While he is in the Horde, I consider him kind of like a neutral character, similar to Chen Stormstout, where he doesn't really pick a faction, but he always kind of leans towards one, if that makes any sense. So my Panda's kind of just a wanderer, but he sides mostly with the Horde, is how I'd look at it. G and Aysa are cross-faction lovers, and it'd be kind of weird to see them fight, but that is exactly what needs to happen in Battle for Azeroth, and let me explain. So when you get out of the Wandering Isle as a low-level Pandaren player, Varian and Garrosh both tell you that treason will not be tolerated. Any Pandaren that you know that went to the Alliance or Horde, they're now your enemy. They don't really show that in the game too much, and I think that's a damn shame. There's a lot of good ideas for a story right there, and that's what they need to do in Battle for Azeroth. We both know Sylvanas will not tolerate that kind of behavior in her Horde, especially after the way she handled the Death Knight scenario in Western Plaguelands during the Cataclysm. So I would love to see a scenario where G Firepaw could be assisting one of the Horde leaders, maybe one like Nathanos, who is a little bit more brutal. Hesitant at first, G realizes he is a member of the Horde and does have an obligation in fighting with them. G over time could start getting behind fighting alongside the Horde, and Aysa and the Alliance starts to take notice of this. Aysa and G's relationship begins to fall apart a little bit. I don't know exactly how I'd finish this plotline without making it similar to the Death Knight one in Western Plaguelands, but I think something to kind of make their relationship a little bit rocky needs to happen in order to give the playable Pandaren some representation in their faction. Having them feel neutral just kind of makes them feel not really a part of the faction, and more so a neutral race that joins in every so often. And if they don't do anything with the Pandaren on the factions, at least give us a mini quest chain with Chen Stormstout. We can never get too much Chen Stormstout. So anyway guys, let me know what you think of the Pandaren. I know a lot of people consider them a joke race, but I really think there's a lot of potential with their lore currently. I feel like we don't use the races from Pandaria enough in the current Warcraft lore. But again, I'd love to see the Jinyu, the Hosen, all of these, the Sarok, the Mogu. I really like to see them have a re-emergence, especially now that the Horde is going to be actively seeking allies. Maybe G Firepaw could say, let's go to Pandaria and recruit some of the native races there to Sylvanas, and we can at least get a miniature storyline there. So anyway guys, let me know what you think about the Pandaren. I know I didn't talk about the Alliance too much, but that's because I play Horde and I have a bias towards that faction. So anyway guys, I will see you all next time, and let me know what you think of the Pandaren. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you hate my thumbnails where I put a giant panda on popular lore characters' faces? And we'll see you next time.